Okay, in last lecture, in previous lecture, we discussed about the sensors in different application area, that to the placement, position, displacement, and we discussed about the resistive and capacitive type of transducers or sensors that can be used for measurement of displacement. Now, here I'll be giving you the example of capacitive sensors. So you can see that how the capacitive sensor will be used here. So the two plates are there, and if you want to measure the capacitive sensor depends upon the three parameters: cross sectional area, distance between the two plates, and the obviously the dielectric material. So here we can see that in this diagram, as the dielectric material is changing, the capacitance value will be changing, or the output will be proportional to the dielectric area that is inserted. So the displacement of that dielectric material is changing the capacitor's value, and that will be changing the overall output. This is what the principle that we have used. Then another principle of capacitive principle is again there. One plate is moving and magnetic field is there. So that is going to change the distance between the two plates, and that is going to change the overall capacitance. So this is the example of mixed type of inductive and capacitive type of sensor. Then here it is the measurement of how the capacitive sensor can be used for the measurement of level. So liquid level you can measure it, and when the liquid is changing, accordingly the capacitance value will be changed, and you can measure the level of that capacitance accordingly. So this is how the capacitive sensor, and we can measure its level with the help of capacitive sensor. So you can see that the liquid is supplied, and whenever the liquid is there, so that is going to change the capacitance between the outer container and the rod over here. So that capacitance will be measured, and that will be directly proportional to the level of the liquid that is present. Okay, so this is how the capacitance capacitive measurement is used, or sensor is used for measurement of displacement and level. Now we will be moving towards the next type of sensors, that is called as the inductive and magnetic sensors. So we know the principle of that inductive and magnetic type of sensors. So whenever you are passing the current through the coil, it will generate a magnetic field, or whenever you move the magnet near the coil, or whenever you move the coil in the magnet, it will generate a current. So vice versa. So this is what we know the principles. So there are many advantages of using the magnetic field for sensing the position or distance. Is that any non-magnetic material can be penetrated by the field, and there will not be any loss of position accuracy. So the non-magnetic material, you can also check the position with the help of such kind of fields also. So that is what the advantage of this type of inductive and magnetic type of sensors. So another advantage of magnetic sensor is that it can be worked on in a severe environments also, or corrosive situations also. So whenever there is a very hot temperatures, or dangerous environments are there, or corrosive environment is there, at that situation, in that situation also we'll be able to use the inductive and magnetic type of sensors. So there are different types of sensors available for which uses this principle of inductive and magnetic type of principle. We have already seen in our previous lecture what is the inductive principle and what is the magnetic principle. So using that principle, there are sensors available that we are supposed to cover up, that is LVDT and RVDT, then eddy current sensor, transverse inductive sensor, Hall effect sensor, magneto-resistive sensor, and magneto-restrictive sensor detectors. So these are the 6 sensors that we are going to see under this heading, that is inductive and magnetic type of sensor. So the first one is LVDT and RVDT. So if you want to measure the position or displacement that is sensed by the method of electromagnetic induction, LVDT and RVDT are the most favorable sensors that are used for measurement of linear displacement or angular displacement. So the magnetic flux is coupled between the two coils. We know that the principle of transformer, when one coil is having a current, it will because of self inductance and mutual inductance, it will generate the flux in the other one, and that will be that will induce the voltage at other end also. And if I cut that flux generated with the help of certain ferromagnetic material in between the two coils, that is obviously affecting the voltage generated at the other end. So this principle is used over here. So the basic arrangement of the multi-induction transducer contains the two coils. So first one is the primary coil and second is the secondary coil. The primary carries the excitation of V reference that induces a steady AC voltage in the secondary coil. So the induced amplitude depends upon the flux coupling between the two coils. That means primary coil and secondary coil. So there are two techniques for changing the coupling. So the movement of an object made up of ferromagnetic material within the flux path, this is the base for LVDT and RVDT. So the physical coil, physically we will move one. So there are two methods. You keep the coil fixed and move the ferromagnetic material in between. So this is one of the method. Or you keep the ferromagnetic material constant and you move the coil. So second one is rather not useful. So the first one is useful. You keep the coil constant and you go on changing the displacement of ferromagnetic material in between. So this is going to change the flux linkage with the secondary coil, and that is directly proportional to the displacement of your ferromagnetic material. So LVDT is a transformer with a mechanically actuated core. So the primary coil is driven by a sinusoidal waveform. This is excitation voltage stabilized with a stabilized amplitude. Now here it is shown, the diagram is shown over here. So here you will be giving your AC input over here, and that AC input is get coupled with this secondary coil, and these secondary coils, there are two coils which are connected opposite to each other with opposite polarity. Here you can see that the polarity is here, then the next polarity should be here, but the polarity is shown over here. So the coil are connected opposite to each other. So whatever may be the output is there, that output is proportional to the difference between these two. The difference of, let us say this is V1 and this is V2 voltage generated at this end. So the output difference will be the difference between V1 and V2 will be the output, and it depends upon the displacement of this ferromagnetic material in between. So this displacement is linear one, that's why it is called as a linear displacement type of transducer. So you will be getting the linear displacement, so you move to and fro. So the linkage with this one, so when it is at this position, the maximum linkage is with this one, and when it move towards this one, the maximum linkage will be with this one. So the linkage will change the voltage V1 and V2, and since the two coils are connected in opposite direction, so you will be getting the difference between the two coils, two voltages, and that is proportional to the displacement. Okay, so this is how you will be getting. And if it is at center position, if this is at center position like this one, let us say this one, then in that case the output voltage will be 0. The output voltage will be 0 because the linkage with V1 and V2 or secondary coil, the voltage generated because of this ferromagnetic material or the flux linkage V1 is equal to V2, hence output will be 0. This is how you will be getting. So this is what we have discussed. So the two secondary coils are connected in that is in opposite phase, and the core is positioned in a magnetic at a center of the transformer, so no output is produced. So depending on the position, the flux linkage will be there, and accordingly the voltage will be generated, and the voltage will be proportional to the displacement. So LVDT will be providing you the direction as well as the magnitude of the displacement. So direction depends upon value of V1 and V2, or total output voltage. So if it is a positive voltage, let us consider that V1 minus V2 will be the output, and if it moves towards V1, so V1 will be the maximum. So we can say that it is moving towards left. And if we say that output voltage is negative, then we can say that it is moving towards right. So we can find out the direction as well as the magnitude. So magnitude and direction we can tell with the help of this displacement. So here it is the example, you can see that. So you can see that whenever the displacement is towards left, the first green signal will be high, and when it is at center position it will be 0, and when it is towards the right position, the red color signal will be high. So this is what the principle of LVDT. Okay. Now the same principle is used. Instead of moving it in a linear position, we can move it in a angular position. That means we can move it in a angular position, and the flux linkage will be accordingly, and that flux linkage will be proportional to the displacement, angular displacement of the central rod. So if you are moving this either in this direction or either in this direction, so whatever may be the angle is there, that angle will be having this position of this ferromagnetic material, which is a rotary one. So that linkage will be there, and if it is at this position, let us say that if it is at this position, output generated will be obviously 0. So when you move this in a particular direction, that will generate the voltage accordingly depending on the flux linkage, and that flux linkage will be proportional to the angular displacement. So this is the principle of RVDT. The principle is same, the only thing is that the movement is angular, and in case of LVDT the movement is linear one. So this is how you can see the output over here. You can see you are moving it, and you will be getting the output in terms of either in a positive direction or either in a negative direction. So you will be getting a position accordingly, and you can easily calculate the displacement of that one, whether it is in which angular moment, whether it is in clockwise direction or whether it is in anti-clockwise direction. You can decide it on the basis of your position of your graph generated. So this is how you can generate LVDT and RVDT. And how you are going to connect this LVDT and RVDT in the amplifier circuit, or you will be getting. So here it is you will be having a zero crossing detector. To this the output will be getting switched, and you are moving this one, and this output will be given to the next circuitry, that is a non-inverting amplifier, and the output will be get filtered so that there will not be any noise, and whatever may be the output is there, that output will be get filtered, and whatever may be the output is there, that output is proportional to the LVDT. So you will be getting a square wave pulses. So what are the advantages of LVDT and RVDT? So the first advantage is that the sensor is non-contact type of device. So there is a very little friction, hence the whatever may be the resistive losses are there, that resistive losses will not be there. Second is hysteresis are negligible. Magnetic hysteresis as well as mechanical hysteresis are negligible. The output impedance is also comparatively low. Then it is low susceptible to the noise and interference because it depends upon the magnetic principle. So the noise interference will be obviously less. The construction is solid and robust, and you will get infinite resolution is possible. That means you can have a very minute type of displacement also, you can measure it. So this is what the advantage of LVDT. LVDT, one of the useful application of LVDT sensor is in gauge head. So if you want to measure the edge gauge, that means the gauge of the wire, so you can use such kind of LVDTs. So you might have studied the concept of the measuring instruments, specifically vernier caliper and my micrometers are there. So these vernier calipers and micrometers, we can use LVDT type of principle for measuring the inspection as an inspection tool. So this is what the advantage and application of this LVDT. So RVDT operates on the same principle, except that it is a rotary ferromagnetic material is used for a angular displacement. So now the next sensor is eddy current sensor. How the eddy current sensors are used for position, displacement and level detectors, let us see. So we know that to sense the proximity of a non-magnetic material, so if you are using a magnetic material, LVDT and RVDT is there, but if non-magnetic material is there or a conductive material is there, the eddy currents that are used, you know that whenever there is a linkage is there or the magnetic flux is there, that is going to create a eddy current in the coil, and that eddy current opposes to the flux that is generating that one. So that is what the principle used over here, and that principle is used as a sensor principle. So the one coil is used as a reference and other is used as a sensing material of a magnetic current induced by the conductive object. So eddy current produces a magnetic field which opposes that of sensing coil, that resulting in the disbalance with respect to the reference coil. So we will see with the help of example and visual, so you can understand the principle of that one. Now you can see that here it is, the example is given. So this is the conductive object, and you move this conductive object away from this one or towards this coil. So this is the reference coil which is generating a voltage. So what will happen, generating a magnetic flux which will get linked with this sensing coil, and when you move this towards or away from this one, obviously the flux linkage with this one is going to change it, and that is going to change the linkage with that one, and the eddy current generated in this sensing coil will change, and that will be proportional to the displacement of this conductive object. This is what the principle is used. So closer the object to the coil, larger the change in the magnetic impedance, and the depth of the object where the eddy current are produced is defined by this equation: delta is equal to under root 2 pi f mu sigma, where f is the frequency and these are the parameters we need to understand. The two configurations of the eddy sensors are possible. First one is with the shield, and second is without shield. So if it is with shield, the results are different, and if it is without shield, the results are different. So you can see that if it is the shielded one, that means the coil is shielded one, then in that case what happens, the interference is not there, and the flux or the magnetic field associated with that one is the directed one. And if it is not shielded one, you can see that is scattered one. Okay, that is scattered one. So this is what the difference between the shielded and non-shielded. So here you can see that this coil is shielded, here it is shielded with this one. So you will get a targeted type of magnetic flux. Here the flux is moving away from the coil, and here you can see that it is in align with the coil. So this is what the difference, and this is what the difference. Okay, so this is how the eddy current will be generated in the secondary coil. So the shielded sensor focuses the magnetic field, whereas unshielded doesn't do it. The position detection of the eddy sensor, it can be used to determine the material thickness, the non-conductive coating thickness, the conductivity, and the plating measurement, as well as the cracks in the material. So one of the advantage of eddy current sensor is that it do not need any magnetic material for the operation. So here you can see that one coil is generating the magnetic flux, so you don't require any magnetic material over here. So one coil will generate the magnetic induction in other coil. So that is what the principle used in eddy current. So they can be quite effective at high temperature and for measuring the distance to or level of conductive liquids, including the molten metals also. So another advantage of such kind of detector is that they are not mechanically coupled to the object, hence the loading effect is very low. Okay. Now the third type of transducer is transverse inductive type of sensor. Transverse inductive type of sensor. So transverse inductive proximity sensor is useful in sensing relatively small displacement of ferromagnetic material. So here whatever the material you are using, that is a ferromagnetic material you are using, and if you want to measure a small displacement, then in that case such kind of transverse inductive sensors are utilized. The sensor measures the distance to the object which alters the magnetic field in the coil. The coil inductance is measured by the external electronic circuit. So here the inductance is measured, that inductance is changed. We know that whenever there is a displacement of magnetic or ferromagnetic material, the flux linkages, that is, we know that the self inductance and mutual inductance, because of flux linkages, that is going to change, and that inductance is measured with the help of external electronic circuit, and that inductance will be proportional to the displacement. So the self inductance principle is the foundation of the operation of such type of transducer. So you have to remember the concept of self inductance as well as mutual inductance that we have already seen in previous lectures. So you please refer to the principles of sensors. In that lecture I have covered this self inductance concept, so you please refer to that video. So whenever the proximity sensor moves into the vicinity of a ferromagnetic object, the magnetic field changes and this alters the inductance of the coil. So this is what the principle of self inductance. So the advantage of this sensor is that it is a non-contact device whose interaction with the object is only through the magnetic field, and the limitation is that it is useful only for ferromagnetic object at relatively short distance. So the disadvantage is that only you have to or you can detect or you can check the movement of the object of ferromagnetic type of object, and it is at shorter distance only. That's why it is called as a proximity. Proximity means very close to each other, so that's why it is at short distance. So here it is the principle of this one. So this is the ferromagnetic material and this is the coil in which so this is the magnetic field which is associated with this one. So when the coil moves very close to this one, so this is going to change the self inductance of this coil, and this coil obviously you are going to measure the inductance, and that inductance will be proportional to the displacement of this ferromagnetic object. So to overcome this limitation, only ferrous materials, a ferromagnetic disc is attached to the displacing object. That means if you want to measure non-ferric material also, then in that case what you are supposed to do, you are supposed to attach one ferromagnetic disc to that object, and that object is moving, and you can see the displacement of that non-ferromagnetic material also, but a small disc you need to attach it to the non-ferrous material. Alternatively, the coil may be attached to the object and the core is stationary. Okay, so the coil you can connect it to the object and you can keep the core as a stationary. You can measure the distance. So this is what the principle is used over here. So the coil is here, the magnet is here, and this is the object which is of non-ferrous material, and this is the ferromagnetic disc which is attached to this one, and you can measure the distance. So this is one principle. And the proximity sensor is useful for measuring the small displacement, as the linearity is poor as compared to LVDT. So the linearity of this device is very poor as compared to LVDT. So here you can see, as you move towards, the distance is going to increase, output will decrease very sharply. So you can see that this is a non-linear type of curve. Actually, if it is a linear type of curve, so you will be getting a linearity in LVDT. So actually the curve should be like this. Okay, so you can see that there is a difference between these two. So but there is a sharp decrease. So you can see that your output will be measured in the distance of 1 or 2 centimeters very effectively, or maximum up to 3 centimeters very effectively. Otherwise you will be getting a very low output when you move away from that particular distance. Okay, now the next sensor will be Hall effect sensor. Next sensor will be Hall effect sensor. So we know that Hall effect principle. So you just try to recall the Hall effect principle. So whenever you are having such kind of Hall effect, you just try to recall the previous lectures that we have gone through. So there is a coil. So this is a material across which you will be measuring, and you will be passing the current through this one, and the charges will get distributed towards the plates, and this charge distribution will be proportional to so the same principle is used over here. So you just try to recall this concept, and this principle is used for measurement of position as well as displacement. So the Hall effect sensors consist of two types. First one is the linear and second one is the threshold. A linear sensor is generally utilized for incorporates an amplifier. So it uses the amplifier for easier interface with the peripheral circuits. And so this is what the example of this one. So this is the example of linear, which will be using, now here it is the regulator and the output is given over here. So whatever may be the output is there, that output, so it depends upon the thickness of the material, so or the distance between the plate. So here you can see that this voltage will be get amplified by this amplifier. So this is the example of this linear sensor. And the threshold type of sensor, it uses the Schmitt trigger with built-in hysteresis. So here it is that, so output of hysteresis there, and that is going to check the regularity, and if output is there in the range or not, that will be decided. So when you apply the magnetic flux density that exceeds a certain threshold, that is going to trigger a clean transient on and from off position to on position. That means hysteresis is there. So it is just like a window. So when the threshold or the trigger goes beyond the threshold, it will change its position from on to off and off to on. So this is what the principle used in threshold type of here. So the only difference is that here a Schmitt trigger is provided. That triggering will give you to work within a particular range only. So the hysteresis eliminates the spurious type of oscillations that are introduced by dead zone band. So dead zone band means from moving from one zone to another zone. So there might be changes that may occur. So if any transient come between the dead zone, that is not going to change the output. So within that dead zone, there will not be any output. So this is what the linearity will be getting, so null output will be getting. And this is for the first graph shows the principle of linear type of Hall effect sensor, and second is of the threshold type of Hall sensor. Okay, so this is called as a hysteresis. This is a hysteresis or dead zone band. Okay, so the Hall sensors are generally usually fabricated as a monolithic silicon chip, and it can be encapsulated in a small epoxy or a ceramic package. So the position and the displacement measurement using Hall effect sensor must be provided with a magnetic field source and interference electronic circuit. So you might be remembering that concept of that one. So magnetic field has two important characteristics for this application: a flux density and a polarity. So when you change the polarity of your magnet, S and N pole, the polarity of your output is also changing. So it should be noted for the better responsibility that the magnetic field lines must be normal or perpendicular to the flat face of the sensor, and it must be of a correct polarity. Then this is the threshold sensor, that is called as the SPARQ threshold sensor. The south magnetic pole will cause the switching action, and north magnetic pole doesn't have any effect. That means if you are using the south pole only, that will cause a switching action, and if you are using a north pole, that will not cause any effect on the output. So you will be getting on and off type of because you will be using a threshold type. So the output goes from on to off is called as a release point in threshold type of Hall sensor. So longest distance will be, you can find it out, and it can be used to determine the critical distance where the sensor is useful. Okay, so the Hall sensor can be used to as a interrupter switching with moving object. So activating the magnet and the Hall sensor are mounted on a single rugged assembly with a small air gap between them. So the sensor is held on position by activating the magnet. So here it is the example of this one. So as it is said that here it is the magnet. This magnet, a south pole will cause on and off of this flux. Now this is the concentrator. This will concentrate the magnetic field or flux linkage. Now this is the Hall effect sensor. So you can see that this will be on, and whenever there will be any object inserted in that one, so obviously the flux linkage will change, and that is going to make it off. So you can measure the displacement accordingly. Okay. So here it is said that, so whenever you are passing the vein, so now the flux linkage is not with this Hall effect sensor, now it is with this vein. So you can see that the linkage is not with this one, now it is changed from on position to off position. So this is what the principle used in Hall effect sensor. So the flip-flop, the output will flip to off position. So the four sensors that can be connected in a bridge type of circuit, so you can detect linear and circular type of motions. So most of the MEM technologies that are used on a single chip or packaged of SOIC 8 plastic housing, they will be using this Hall type of sensor. So this is what the principle of Hall sensor. So you can see the principle of Hall sensor, and here it is the principle used of Hall sensor, how it can be used for measurement of the ferromagnetic material or the displacement, rotary angular displacement of gears. So you can measure that. Here you can see the output generated over here in terms of pulse. So that pulse will be only there whenever there is a movement, and this is what the principle of Hall effect. So you can see that the pulse is generated whenever there is a linkage with the. So this principle is used for proximity detector also. So the same principle is used for the proximity detector. Okay, so this is how you can use the Hall effect sensor. So if you have any query, you can put a question in the chat box, or you can put on YouTube channel also. You please subscribe to YouTube channel and